Hi everybody, I'm Torie Robinson and we have an unplanned Epilepsy Sparks Insights Ukraine special. With the war, there are indirect casualties. People in Ukraine cannot access their epilepsy medications, and those who used to have controlled epilepsy are now having seizures, status epilepticus, and some are dying. We bring you news on what is happening right now. Hello Laurie, thank you for joining us today to talk about your work with epilepsy and how you're helping the Ukraine. Could you please tell everybody a bit about yourself?
You bet. Hi, Torie. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm with the ROW Foundation, ROW, which stands for Rest of World, and our goal is to improve epilepsy care in under-resourced areas of the world, including low and middle income countries.
Ukraine is in need at the moment, so what are you doing for Ukraine?
Well, we are working to send over anti-seizure medications for people in need, both in Ukraine and also refugees in Poland.
Wonderful. And I think this is something that many people haven't even considered. It's a bit like, it's comparable to if somebody hasn't got their insulin, or if somebody hasn't got their antiretroviral drugs or something like that. But I think with epilepsy, it's like, if we don't have our drugs, we can literally just go and have seizures or go into status epilepticus and literally die. So that's why this is so urgent, really. So how have you helped people so far? What have been your activities?
Okay, so we've been working with multiple partners. We have one in Poland, as you're well aware of, in Warsaw. They're orchestrating getting medication into Ukraine and getting it distributed to physicians who in turn prescribe to and deliver to patients in need. So we're working with Emergen Foundation and Neurosphere in Warsaw, and then also in the US with AmeriCares, who's a major global relief organization, and also a FIA Foundation in New York State, and they're working with the U.S. Ukraine Foundation to airlift supplies.
What has been the process from the beginning? I understand that you made kind of one delivery, if you like, and then wanted to see how that went. What's been the process so far?
Right, so our first shipment went out earlier in March via DHL, who we work with here in the U.S., and we were able to get that package over there. Sailed through customs. The team in Warsaw is getting really adept at getting things cleared and distributed. And so then since that was successful, we've followed up with a second larger shipment directly from the warehouse of our social enterprise partner, OWP Pharmaceuticals. That one's currently in transit and hopefully will arrive shortly. The last shipment took about 1 week, so we're hopeful that this will be the same.
Do you have any idea, is it possible to calculate like how many dosages, or like, I don't know, everyone has different dosages, so, but you know,
Sure.
How many tablets, for instance, that you've gotten over so far?
Right, so with all three partners so far, I think we came up with over 1,300 bottles of medication, so that's probably going to translate into roughly 50,000 tablets, depending on which medications and so forth.
Is it not levetiracetam that you're shipping over?
Mostly,
epilepsy?
that is our primary medication. So that's what we're sending. Thanks.
And it's 500 milligrams.
Yes,
is that
500
right?
milligram tablets. Yes, but from what we understand, there's a need for every type of anti-seizure medication, including rescue medications, which are a little harder to handle because that's often a controlled substance.
Yeah, but gosh, we need it. People need it.
Definitely.
So what would you say, is there anything else that like our listeners, our viewers can, that you can say to us that Ukraine needs when it comes to epilepsy, or how can they help you deliver these medications?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, all types of anti-seizure medications are needed. So that's going to be mostly corporate entities that hopefully will get involved, pharmaceutical companies, other healthcare foundations. I've had contact with some hospitals here in the U.S. who are trying to supply medications through their networks. They have the ability to purchase and handle pharmaceuticals. And then for just average everyday people, they're welcome to contribute to our fundraising efforts, which helps mobilize more medication. OWP donates the medication, and then Roe Foundation needs to transport it. So as you can imagine, international shipping is quite costly, and this was an unexpected incident for us. So any help that we can get to raise funds to deliver the medication is quite helpful. And just so people know, one thing that's unique about Roe Foundation is that because of our social enterprise model, OWP takes care of our operating expenses. So 100% of all donations go directly to the designated program. So donors can choose that this money goes for Ukraine, and 100% of it will go to the Ukraine effort.
That's amazing to actually have that choice and know that like load of the money is not going, 20 or 50% to admin. It's actually going towards helping these people. Oh, also it's worth mentioning, I think, that this is not like something that's just going to be a need for people from Ukraine for, like a few months. Epilepsy drugs are something that we kind of have to take for our whole lives. It's not something that's a problem that's going to disappear. And I think the earlier that we can all help in some way, the better. And people so we just spoke about donating money, but also just sharing the message. If you donating something like the cost of a cup of coffee, great. But if you can't do that, please just share this video, share this recording podcast, just to get the message out there, and also share it with your politicians. Because I think we can all be contributing far, far more here. What do you have planned next? What are your next activities to help as an organisation, Laurie?
Right. Well, we have plans to just sustain this effort to keep sending medication. As you mentioned, obviously people with epilepsy need to consistently take their medication. And clearly the situation, even if the conflict ended today, the needs would continue. Lives have been disrupted. Millions of people leaving the country and going to neighboring countries. So refugees need support. So this is a long-term effort, and we're in it for the long term. Just as another example, we've worked in Venezuela for 4 years now, supporting patients there with epilepsy. That's an ongoing economic crisis that just isn't letting up. So we continue to do as much as we can at our small organization to support people in need, whether it's economic crisis, conflict situation, natural disasters. We're involved in all of those.
And what's great, I think, about your organisation is that because you're relatively little, it doesn't take a whole lot of paperwork to get things moving, right? I think you told me there's something like 20 employees or something.
Right, between the two. And actually on the foundation side, there's 2.5 employees. So it's, a small organization, and we can make quick decisions. But it's really going to take everybody working together through their strengths to do that. I mean, we're supplying a certain segment of medication, but the needs are varied and large. So we need everybody's assistance on this.
And I can say, from the perspective of somebody with epilepsy who once upon a time made a silly decision to voluntarily stop my medications because I was fed up with them, I went and had a seizure, but that was like even my silly choice. These people in Ukraine, or refugees from Ukraine, are not choosing to not have access to their medications, and people are having seizures, they're going into status epilepticus, and we are having losses of life, no doubt. So please, anybody got a spare £3, $5, whatever you have, or as I said before, please just share this message, because what's amazing about this situation is that internationally people are coming together, evidently, and we're a global community here to help people affected by the epilepsies, and yeah, there's a lot we can achieve working together. Is there any other comment you have, Laurie?
Just to say thanks, Torie, for putting this series together. I think it's a great way to raise awareness about a very specific need. This is really a special niche that's obviously important to both of us, but epilepsy affects so many millions of people around the world, and I think this current situation kind of highlights what other people may not be aware about. That's always going on. That literally 40 million people worldwide live with untreated seizures all the time. And as you said, not by choice. People don't have access to the medication that they need. A country like Ukraine isn't typically where we'd be working, but because of the conflict, we are. But it highlights that in many low-income countries around the world, people aren't getting the care they need. So if this tragedy also highlights some of those needs and raises awareness, then that's important too.
Yeah, inequalities in the world certainly are far from gone, and this is a perfect example.
Correct.
But people, you can help this situation by just sharing this message. So thank you so much, Laurie. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. We will speak again soon, and I'll drag you on here again to give us an update on the situation.
Thanks, Torie. We'd be happy to talk again.
To help save the lives of the people in Ukraine, please put pressure on your politicians and pharma companies. Tell them that Ukraine, just a few hours travel from us, needs anti-seizure medications yesterday and that they must provide them. See links to people in the recording in the text below and on the website torierobinson.com/epilepsy-sparks insights. Thank you.